Hey guys, subscribe for daily knife content, and if you're shopping for knives and gear, make sure you check out the description of the video you're watching right now for links to some great online retailers. There's also individual links for knives that I personally recommend. Thanks!
What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got a really interesting knife review slash knife overview to share with you guys. This is the Spyderco Efficient, which is up until this was sent to me, I honestly didn't know this existed. This is a budget Spyderco that's made in China. Not all Spydercos are made in China, but their less expensive ones are. So this guy is very inexpensive, coming in at about $45 versus the average for Spyderco probably being around $120 to $150, something like that. So yeah, for somebody wanting to take a look at an introductory Spyderco, this line, this is part of a line of 3 different sizes: a small, a medium, and the large. This is the medium guy. This might be a good one to check out. So I'm going to link this guy down below, and Spyderco knives in general, so you can see what all is going on. This was sent to me by Left-Handed Knife Reviews, which probably, now a lot of people are going, that's why it's set up for left-handed carry. Check out Left-Handed Knife Reviews on YouTube. It's because of people like them that I'm able to bring you guys daily knife content. It's also because of my generous patrons. Thanks for supporting me. There's a link for my Patreon right down in the description. And please, make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. Let's go ahead and do a measurement here of this guy. Overall length of the Spyderco Efficient, coming in at, did I actually say the name of it yet? Spyderco Efficient coming in at just shy of 7 inches, about 6.9 inches overall. Blade length is definitely at least 3 inches, so we are not clearing that line there. That's okay. Cutting edge is coming in at about 2.6 inches overall, thanks to a pretty generous forward choil. Let's go ahead and do some size comparisons up against the Ontario Rat Model 1 and Rat number 2. See here, this is very similar length. It's actually, gosh, is it? No, it's camera angle. If it is shorter, it's ever so slightly shorter than the Ontario Rat Model 2, but it's much taller, as you can see. Let's go ahead and do, I think, probably the best size comparisons here. It's going to be up against the PM2 and the Para 3. You can see here that this is actually shorter than both, definitely. Cutting edge is about exactly the same as the Para 3, even though it is a shorter overall knife. It's definitely shorter than the PM2. Height is very similar, though. Last but not least, the Benchmade Griptilian, or in this case, the Ritter Hogue, and its little brother, the Benchmade Mini Griptilian. This is still longer, just by a hair, than the Mini Griptilian. Cutting edge, Mini Griptilian actually has more cutting edge than the Efficient. It's funny because the presence of the Efficient is that of a knife that is larger, right? I mean, if I were to guess, just by handling, I'd be like, it's definitely bigger than the Rat 2 and the Mini Griptilian, but not by much. It's more so height. Let's go ahead and do size, or I'm sorry, carry profile. So thickness up against the Spyderco Para 3. You can see here it's essentially exactly the same, maybe slightly thinner, but it's trivial. Length and height up against the PM2 and Para 3. You can see here it is shorter than the Para 3, and it's not as tall as either of them. So that's nice. Let's go ahead and do blade stock thickness here real quick. Get a measurement. Where's my calipers? There it is. I'm going to guess that the blade stock thickness is somewhere around 125 thousandths. Coming in at, less than that. Okay, it's more like 100, well, it's saying 117 thousandths. It's probably 115 thousandths. 115 to 120 thousandths, not bad. We're looking at G10. It is definitely G10, and then steel liners. You can pick up my flashlight down in the description. They have been milled out a little bit, but it does still feel very solid, and honestly, there's some heft here. I'm trying to I feel like it probably weighs 3.5 ounces. No, more than that. Yeah, 4.13 ounces. Oh my god, that's so heavy for how small it is. I couldn't possibly... It's 4.3... It's 4.13 ounces. It's not, Is that heavy for this size of knife? Yeah. Is it going to bother most people? Probably not. For me, no, I just don't. It's much more about, the profile and ergonomics and things like that. Weight to blade ratio, for me, I just don't care. Some people are going to care. Some people aren't. Do what you're going to do with that information. It doesn't weigh very much. It feels very solid, and that's due to the steel liners coming out to the lips instead of being countersunk and not a ton of milling, right? it's a pretty solid piece for sure. Let's go ahead and talk about the anatomy here. So these actually the fit and finish all the way around on this guy is really good. I just don't have a problem with the fit and finish. And honestly, you know, the Chinese Spydercos are the ones that generally come the most heavily off-centered. This knife has been used. It's a little tiny bit off-center. I can pretty much guarantee that I could center this. Very, very minimal hardware. You know, we didn't actually even do the hardware check. Should we do that here real quick? You can get my tools down in the description. They are very inexpensive and very recommendable. I'm going to guess the entire thing is T8 across the board, which will make this pretty easy. Oh, are they bigger? Let's try a T10. They're not that big. What the heck? Are they T9? I feel like there was some play on the T8. Yeah, what the heck? Okay, T9. Everything's T9. That's weird. Yeah, it definitely is. I mean, okay, so 2 body screws on each side. You got one side for the pivots, T9. Pocket clip screws are T6. I'm not really going to count off for that. Okay, that's the very first knife I've ever seen where the both, well, I hardly ever see knives that use T9 hardware, but the pivot and all the body screws are T9. That's fine, as long as it's not below T8. That's generally my preference. Spyderco hardware tends to be soft, though, no matter what size the head is, so still be careful. I'm going to guess if the American Spydercos use the soft hardware, the Chinese ones probably, you know, are, best case scenario, they're the same. Anyways, the fit and finish all the way around is really, really good. You got a couple areas back here where you can see like the liner rises above the backspacer a little bit, but general fitment of everything, you know, like the screws and where it meets up with the scales, I mean, it looks good. I mean, truthfully, this thing feels a step up from the Tenacious. I don't know why. Maybe it's just this one, but this one, I mean, I like the Tenacious. I've always said the Tenacious is like the ultimate starter Spyderco, right? This just feels a little bit better. I don't know what the deal is here. The edges are all nicely knocked down, right? So let's talk about ergonomics. So here's the thing. The handle shape in this guy is weird, and Spydercos are known for being weird. Spydercos are weird. That's their thing, right? Ergonomically, this thing is just beautiful. Now, I'm being thrown off a little bit by the fact that the pocket clip is on the, set up for left-handed carry. Truthfully, with my left hand, because this is that typical Spyderco clip, it's not the most ideal clip ergonomically. This is another one of those Spydercos that could probably benefit from an MXG clip. It looks like this is the same 3-hole setup as this guy, so that's probably going to be the case. These are shorter and more comfortable, right? So the clip, I mean, honestly, it's super weird looking on the knife anyway, but clip's probably going to create a hotspot. As far as the ergonomic lines go, though, very easy to lock into. I love these areas. I mean, Spyderco does this a lot where they have these areas you can choke up behind the blade. So that's great. The problem is, and also because of the lines and the way they've cut it, plenty of access to that liner lock. It's very easy to disengage, right? From the open position, right? You're using it, comfortable, right? Going to disengage it, no problem. It's deploying it, and, you know, that is kind of, well, here's the thing. If you're going to try and fire it, your instincts, I've been playing with this, your instincts are to go, whoops, up. But there's this ledge right here. You're slamming your thumb into it. And even when you come out sideways, you're going to run your finger into it, right? Do the reverse flick, you got to come more out than up because you're going to run your finger into it. It doesn't feel natural. Versus other Spydercos, not at all. So the answer is to just wheel it out, right? Do we need to deploy our knives like this? No. Do we want to? Yeah, especially with a Spyderco. That's what appeals to people, right? You want to be able to do that. You can do it, but it's like a C+ experience. It's not super great because of this ledge. So benefits to the ergonomic lines, or benefits to the lines are in ergonomics, right? And ease of, I guess disengaging and closing the blade. And it is plenty easy to just wheel out, right? It's fine. You can see I'm doing it right here. Fidget factor is going to be limited to that right there, which, fidget factor has nothing to do with utility, but it is something that people consider with Spydercos, right? If you like Spydercos and you don't think fidget factor should be considered, okay, it just is. Yeah, I'm sorry. If you didn't know that, it just is. People in the knife world are generally, especially people who are watching this video right now, you're probably interested in Spydercos at least, partially due to the potential fidget factor that comes with them. And with this guy, it's there. It's just heavily hindered by this ledge. It just is what it is. There's plenty of access. You'll get used to it. You got to come way out sideways. That's just what it is, right? It's kind of bothersome. There is some jimping up here. Stop pin. Where's the stop pin? Did I not? Oh, it has an internal stop pin. That's not what I was expecting. So the blade actually will be carved out to accept because it's a fixed stop pin. Just stays in one place. And it rests up either against the front of the carve-out of the blade tang or the back of it, depending on whether it's in the opened or closed position. You can't see it. You just have to imagine with me. That's fine. It's kind of nice. Not what I expect to see on a less expensive knife, but okay. It says Spyderco and 8CR13 MOV. All right. So, is 8CR13 MOV a good steal? Good steal for this price range. Well, 8CR13 MOV by itself is an ingot steel that is not quite the bottom of the barrel, but it's close. The junk that they use on I'm going to make a few people mad. If you've been EDCing a Smith & Wesson knife, that knife is crap. It doesn't matter what it is. Those are crap. What they use for the blade and the handle materials and the tolerances, every last little thing about those knives it's junk. That's just one example, right? Tact Force, M-Tech, for any of that stuff that's just design, it's all garbage. That's worse than 8CR13 MOV. 8CR13 MOV is stainless, or it's supposed to be, but it seems to have pretty serious issues with corrosion. And the funny thing is, I think we've actually got an example of that. Yeah, right here. This is a satin finished blade, and that's definitely, we got some spotting up there. Right? Now, I don't know how this has been used, but I know that that's not uncommon for 8CR. Here's the truth, guys. For the vast majority of people looking to pick this up, they're going to be just like me. They're just going to use their knife for typical stuff. If you're going to cut open letters periodically, you're going to cut open a box, you're going to do some simple cuts, take the knife out, make 1 to 2 quick cuts, and put it away. And you're going to use it 5 to 10 times a week. You're not going to notice the difference between this or D2 or M390. You're just not. You know, it'll take a long time to get that edge down just doing general stuff. Now, if you go out to break down cardboard for like 30 minutes, oh yeah, definitely, right? If you're going to do hundreds and hundreds of cuts all at once, oh yeah, you're definitely going to notice, right? So is 8CR13 MOV bad for a $45 knife? Well, yeah, but it depends on what I mean, there's definitely better steels out there. Define better. I mean, there's definitely balance of composition that benefits the average user in a way that is better, is the best way to put that. Like D2 is a better steel. 9CR18 MOV is a better steel. Honestly, I'd rather have VG10. I think I'd rather... I honestly don't know how AUS-8 compares with 8CR. I'd rather have AUS-10. I'd rather have VG10. I'd rather have N690. I'd definitely rather... I mean, here's the thing. We're starting to see knives in S35VN and 154CM at the sub $75 mark. I think the reason we still see these is because Spyderco has a nearly limitless supply of 8CR13 MOV, and they're just trying to get through it until it's basically totally unacceptable. And we are all essentially there. Do I think the average person is going to notice? The average person meaning the guy who just pulls this knife out to cut open an envelope every now and then, right? Maybe I shouldn't say average, just like that type of EDC person. No, you're not going to notice the difference between this and M390. To people who use their knives a little bit more or break down a bunch of cardboard periodically, you know, once a month or so, oh yeah, you're going to notice, right? And apparently this has, despite it being a stainless steel, for whatever reason, I see staining and stuff on 8CR, you know, more than, like, I remember my Tenacious here in Kansas was an 8CR, and it got a little bit of that. And I have D2 blades that have never had an issue, and I think there's more chromium in 8CR than there is in D2. This rat has been through way, way worse, and I've had it forever, and I don't have any, there's nothing on it. I don't know. I'm not a metallurgist. It's 8CR. That's what it is. Now, part of that is made up for just composition and proper heat treat. That's important, but it's not all of it. The third element there is geometry. You can have an excellent blade steel with a perfect heat treat. If you got crap geometry, a lot of that goes out the window. This is Spyderco's leaf-shaped blade, similar to the Manix 2, Sage, Shaman, right? Pretty thin stock. The edge isn't as thin as you'd expect, but it's okay. It's not. This is not a Sage. It's not ground that thin. It's okay though. There's nothing in the cutting path, and it's going to make most jobs pretty easy, right? An 8CR 13 MOV Spyderco efficient for the first 15 minutes is probably going to be a better tool to break down cardboard boxes than a M390 XM18 Spanto. Now, at some point, the edge retention in the Spanto, despite being a thicker geometry, this is just one example, is going to allow that knife to continue to break down cardboard at not the most convenient level, but in a more efficient way at some point, just because of the edge retention, than a better geometry in 8CR 13 MOV. Does that make sense? Neither is going to be fantastic after 30 minutes, but the edge stability of, the M390, even at that geometry, is probably still going to be better than this thing going absolutely dull after just like 15 minutes. 8CR does not have great edge retention. It just doesn't. Edges up here, a little bit sharp. That's fine. Satin finished blade. Inside of the hole, a little bit sharp. Says Spyderco 8CR, and then on this side it just says China. Alright, it is what it is. Truthfully though, the edge looks okay. Generally what I expect from the Chinese Spydercos is a little bit of wonkiness in the edge, and I'm not going to say it's absolutely perfect, but it's pretty good. It's better than a lot of the Tenacious models I've seen. No sharpening choil, but Spyderco just doesn't like to do that, right? For the most part, it's a pretty well-rounded geometry. The geometry is going to be, is going to bring that 8CR 13 MOV junk steel up to a more reasonable level. Here's the thing. That blade geometry is so good that it still makes this a viable option. 8CR 13 MOV, for the most part, it brings the whole knife design down so far that I'm almost at the point with a lot of people where I dismiss the entire knife because of 8CR. And you look down there in the comments section, and you're going to have people who only watch 2 minutes of the video, right? Here's what they did. They were looking for the efficient, right? They went and looked it up, went through the specs. They found out it was 8CR 13 MOV, and that made them mad. So then they got on YouTube. They found a video of it. They watched 2 minutes of it. Maybe it's my video. And then they're dismissing the entire knife because it's 8CR, right? They didn't watch to this point of the video to hear my thoughts on it. Yeah, I'm almost to the point where I want to dismiss any knife in 8CR as well. But truthfully, the blade geometry is good enough to where it almost makes me want to, say, okay, Anyways, we got to move on here. Backspacer looks good. That's where a lot of the excess weight is coming from. They probably could have, truthfully, the balance on this thing is super weird. There's the middle point right there. No backspacer, it probably would have brought it up to right here if they'd have just done standoffs. I'm not really sure why they did a backspacer, but it looks nice, right? Mounting position for the pocket clip, left to right-handed carry. Obviously, this is a right-handed liner lock, so lefties, can you still manipulate it? Yeah, it's actually pretty easy. Liner locks are fairly easy to manipulate with the right hand. It is a pretty sharp and angular liner lock, though, so while you do have access to it, left-handed people, you're going to feel that. Ouch, it actually is. You can do it, but you can definitely feel it as you push into that. It's very angular, very sharp liner lock that'll, yeah, shaving my fingernails off, no problem there. Okay. The pocket clip, it's this generic Spyderco pocket clip. You're better off just buying it. Even at this cheap of a knife, you're better just buying a better pocket clip for it, something from MXG, or maybe a Lynch clip, something like that. Lanyard hole is lipped. It looks like you're probably going to have the same issue as the Spyderco PM2. Maybe not, I don't know. And in any case, if you're trying to disassemble it to clean it, which, by the way, it does run on, they appear to be phosphor bronze. Let me look in there. Actually, well, It's possible that it's a combination of phosphor bronze and nylon, which I really don't care about. Whether it's just PB or it's PB and nylon, whatever. Feels good enough. Honestly, the action is fairly smooth. I mean, it's not going to drop shut, but truthfully, it's very, very easy to manipulate. I know we didn't talk about that earlier, but yeah, it feels pretty good. I mean, I'm trying to judge this being it's being a $45 Spyderco, right? So, lockup, it's totally solid, no question. Liner lock is engaging at about 50%. Like I said, the centering's a little bit off. In this day and age, knife should be centered. This one's been used. I could probably recenter it. I can't judge it too hard. There are lots and lots and lots of great designs out there in the $40 to $50 range. Lots of them. Now, Spyderco has the whole thing, the perfect circle. I can understand why they are so protective of it, because it is absolutely a better, deployment. In fact, it's my favorite deployment method. It's better than the slots. It's better than the half moons. It's better than the triangles. It just is. Other manufacturers have tried to make that work with a lot of different shapes, and some of them are okay. Like the ovals that you see on like a Strider or like the Demco 8020. Yeah, it's pretty good. The whole is definitely better. Spyderco also does a great job with their ergonomic lines, and that leaf-shaped blade is really hard to beat for EDC. So for $45, are the design elements enough to counterbalance the fact that they're using a really crappy steel? Yeah, kind of, to be honest with you. The average person, like I said, here's the thing. If you're going to go out and beat the crap out of your knife every single day, ATR 13 MOV is going to be easy to resharpen, but I think you're probably going to be better off with a steel that's, more capable. If you're just going to be doing regular stuff with your knife, right, and you enjoy the ergonomic lines, or the idea, at least if you've never handled a Spyderco, the ergonomic lines of a Spyderco, and you like the benefits of the leaf blade, or you want to experience it, they're good enough, the geometry is good enough, and the ergonomics are good enough that it might be worth considering. The biggest issue here is this ledge. That ledge is bothersome for people like me who just want to flick their knives. We don't have to. You don't have to be able to flick your knives. But you can see here, I'm still having trouble with it. A little bothersome. Don't have to. As a tool, though, despite the steel being junk, this was a hard one for me because I really do like the lines. It feels solid. It's well made, right? It's easy to manipulate. I have to remember, sometimes I have to block out the enthusiast. G10, PB, or maybe PB and nylon. Steel liner construction that's done well. Fit and finish is actually really impressive for a Chinese Spyderco. Great blade geometry. Not an ultimate laser beam, but the leaf shape's pretty good. You can choke up behind it, right? You don't have to have the fidget factor. You can open and close it very easily, right? Pocket clip's okay. It could be better. Is it recommendable? You know what? Yeah, I think it is. If you're a steel snob, you're not gonna like this, right? If you are not gonna be, if you're gonna be getting your pocket knife out maybe 5 times a week to do simple stuff, I think you're gonna like this. It's a little bit heavy for the size, but 4 ounces isn't that big of a deal. I think who will most benefit from this, just like what I've said about the Tenacious, people who are intrigued by Spyderco. I know there's a lot of you watching right now going, I've never picked up a Spyderco. I think they're so weird and ugly looking, but everybody talks about how great they are. I'm not willing to risk throwing $150 at a Spyderco PM2 when I don't even like how it looks, but everybody praises it, hails it, right? Okay. Here's a Spyderco like the Tenacious that you could start with that won't break the bank, that'll give you a decent idea of why people like Spyderco knives. The steel sucks, yes, but for $45, does this give you a good example of a Spyderco knife? Yeah, and I think in use, in practice, is where this thing is going to shine, right? It's not going to be an ultimate gemstone to an enthusiast or collector. But taking this thing out and using it, yeah, I think you're going to get it, right? It's a nice gateway into Spyderco knives and a decent example. Is it better than the Tenacious? I don't know. For the ultimate budget Spyderco, the ultimate gateway Spyderco, the Tenacious is probably still the best, but this is pretty good, and it's a little smaller. I like this. This is going to go in 2 playlists. Cheap knives I like, and my recommended knives. I wish the steel was different. I wish the steel was D2 or something else. But it's not. Okay. Guys, that's going to be pretty much it for today's review. Like I said, this will be listed right down below. You can check out this knife and the other different sizes in the line, and you can check out Spyderco knives in general. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you guys enjoyed this video, please leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.